Let's react. I keep seeing this channel everywhere called His Story, so let's react to it.
And when he was done, he told me again that we were going to find Ren. I thanked him and walked him out. Callie was in the living room now with her arms crossed tight and face pale. Dad, that was so creepy. I couldn't believe what she was saying. Cal, he was just praying. She scrunched up her face. I don't care. I don't want him in our house again. I reminded her that he was the only one helping us, and she stormed off angrily and slammed her door. I went back up to Ren's room and flicked the bedroom light off and on 4 times and still stayed there waiting for her lamp to flick back. But that's when I noticed I could see into Reeves' living room and his overhead bulb was flickering on and off. My throat closed up because it felt like Ren was talking to me, but I knew it wasn't her. The next morning, Mr. Reeve knocked on my door holding a foil tray. I made you guys breakfast burritos. Food is probably the last thing on your mind. I let him in, and he set the tray on the counter, and that's when Callie came down the stairs. She froze when she saw him, but Mr. Reeve happily handed her a plate with a burrito. She took it without a word and sat at the kitchen table but didn't touch the food. Reeve sat across from me, and his eyes were as tired as mine. Silas, there's something I have to tell you. I gestured for him to continue. Do you know the man that lives in the brown house with the chain link fence? When I nodded, Reeve said, I don't want to point fingers, Silas, but he has a history with kids. He could be a suspect. Callie was already standing up, and I was grabbing my keys off the counter, and we all ran outside. Callie and me got in the car while Reeve watched us from our driveway. When we got to the brown house,
Guys, I've watched some of this, but just to let you know, there's like a man, like a black figure, I think, at the middle of a girl's doorway, and then and 2 years later, she is walking, like, her backpack is found in a ditch and so is something else. And yeah, and I thought the old man was, like, the, person in the hallway. Maybe it is, I don't know.
Saw a white van in the driveway, and the blinds were closed. I got an unsettling feeling in my
Diddy's van.
stomach, and it made me think this was the man Ren saw in her doorway 2 years ago, and he'd come back to finish what he started. I unbuckled my seatbelt, and Callie unbuckled hers, but I grabbed her wrist. Stay in the truck. She tried to pull her arm back. No, Dad. What if he took her? That's why you need to stay in the car. I got out the car and walked up the porch, hearing my own pulse in my ears. When I knocked a man in his 50s open the door, and he looked annoyed at being interrupted. Yeah? He said. Really annoyed, and that pissed me off. My voice came out cold. Where is she? He looked confused. Where is who? My daughter, 9 years old, mute, missing. I know you took her. He stood up straight, menacingly towering over me. I don't have your daughter. Now get off my property. But I wasn't intimidated and looked past him into his house. And that's when I saw a bright pink backpack that looked just like Ren's. My vision blurred, and I grabbed him by the shirt and slammed him into the doorframe. Where is...
I'm not joking. Before I made the video, I watched a little bit of it. And she has a bright pink backpack.
He struggled out. I don't know. I didn't believe him and punched him in the face, and he dropped to the floor, but I continued hitting him. My knuckles were splitting open on his face, but I didn't care. Where is she? Where is my daughter? That's when I heard sirens, and a cop quickly pulled me off him and slammed me against the porch railing. Sir, you need to calm down right now, I screamed. He has my daughter. Check the house. I saw her backpack on his counter. The other cop was helping the man up, and he was spitting blood and shaking his head and talking fast. The cop let go of me while his partner walked over. Sir, he's got an alibi. He was at work the day your daughter went missing. He's lying. Call his manager. The cop sighed and told the man to call his manager, and he put her on speakerphone. The cop explained everything to her, and my face crumbled when the manager said, I can confirm he was here on that day. I shook my head rapidly and felt my head spinning. No, he's lying, I know it. I saw her backpack on his counter. The cop sighed and asked the man if he could show me the backpack, and when I saw it, I realized they were 2 completely different bags. I closed my eyes and my legs almost gave out because I was still nowhere near finding Ren. He's not pressing charges, but if you come within 100 feet of this house again, you're going to jail. You understand me? I nodded weakly, then walked off the porch. When I got in my car, Callie looked scared of me, but then regained her composure and said, Dad, you can't do that again. If you go to jail, Ren doesn't have anybody. I swallowed hard. suddenly feeling guilty, and drove us home in silence. When I pulled into the driveway, Reeve was at my window in seconds, and he covered his mouth when he saw my hands. Silas, oh my God, your hands. What happened? We got out of the car, and I told him everything. Mr. Reeve was moving around anxiously. We need to clean you up. We need ice and a cloth. Callie stared with her arms crossed, then coldly said, Mr. Reeve, you should go home. We're really tired. He froze. I just thought Callie, not right now. Please. I said sternly because I knew she was getting suspicious of him again. She looked at me in disbelief, then stormed off into the house. Reeve looked at me with a wounded face and tried apologizing, but I told him I just wanted to rest. He nodded, then walked away, and I went inside and straight to Wren's room. I laid down on her bed and pulled her stuffed rabbit against my chest and closed my eyes. When I woke up, it was dark outside, and I could see Reeve's bulb flickering on and off in his living room again. And watching it reminded me of the night I made up the ritual and how scared Wren was of the man in her doorway. I thought I'd kept her safe all this time, but she'd been in danger this whole time, and I was too stupid to see it. The next morning, it took everything in me to get out of Wren's bed, and when I finally did, I saw Callie on the couch with one of Wren's hoodies pressed up to her face, whispering into it. I watched from the doorway, and I couldn't make myself go up to her because if I touched her, I was going to break too. The next couple days blurred together. I would sleep in Wren's bed and couldn't get out most of the time, and when I did, I would notice that Callie stopped eating since her face was slimmer. Her hair was also matted on one side from sleeping on the couch. I'd been telling myself we were going to find Wren, but part of me didn't believe it anymore. The other part...
Trust me, I just got a feeling, like, at the end they will find her. They will. I know they will. They will.
Part of me did believe it, and it was enough to get me to flick her bedroom light 4 times. I waited for the lamp to flicker. But the only thing flickering was Mr. Reeve's broken bulb. I almost didn't look at it since I was sick of it by now, but I decided to look either way. It flickered 6 times, then stopped, and I suddenly couldn't breathe because I just counted Wren's goodnight signal from across the street. I started crying because Wren was across the street this entire time, and the man who had been helping me was the same man who'd stood in Wren's doorway 2 years ago. I
absolutely knew it.
He went to Callie's room because she had to know where her sister was. I opened her door, and she was in bed with Wren's hoodie pressed against her chest. Cal, Reeve has her. He's the man she saw in her doorway. Her eyes widened, and she suddenly got up and started hitting my chest angrily but weakly at the same time. I knew it, Dad. I knew he was creepy, but you wouldn't listen to me. I took her punches as I told her, I know, Callie. I'm sorry. I promise we'll get your sister back. We just need proof so the cops will finally listen to us. Me and Callie had hope again, so we got to work the second the sun came up. Callie put her phone and prepared a plate of food and a cup of juice, then carried both somewhere down the stairs. Dad, he's going to his basement. I spotted a window to the basement low on the side of his house, and my eyes widened in fear because the basement walls were the same pink as Wren's room. My head started spinning, and I had to put a hand on the windowsill to steady myself because he had painted the basement just for Wren. Callie noticed it too and dug her fingernails into my hand from anger. After 30 minutes, Reeve came back upstairs with empty dishes, then grabbed his keys and walked out of his house and got in his car. I stood up. Callie, stay here and keep recording. Call me if anything moves. I'm going to see where he's going. She nodded fast, and I ran out of Wren's room, grabbing my car keys from the counter and a baseball cap. I followed Reeve 3 cars back the whole way to a grocery store, then put the baseball cap low over my eyes to hide my face, and walked in behind him with my phone in my hand, already recording. Mr. Reeve walked down the aisles, picking up normal groceries like a man with nothing to hide, and that made me angry. But then he walked into the dairy aisle, and he grabbed a yellow 12-pack of True Moo and dropped it into his cart. My hands started shaking because I couldn't believe he was buying True Moo for my daughter, as if he were her dad. I wanted to slam him to the floor, but stopped myself. After he paid for his groceries, I drove home knowing we had him. Back at home, I called 911 and told the dispatcher I had evidence that my daughter was being held in my neighbor's basement. She told me to stay in the house and that cops were on their way. Callie and I held our breaths until we heard the police knocking on our door. After I let them in, they took our statements and our phones for evidence and said a warrant would be ready tomorrow. Before leaving, they warned us to not go near Reeves' property. Callie and me felt so much relief at finally being believed, and soon we were all going to be reunited. But for now, we sat on the couch watching Reeves' house through the front window. Every hour that passed,
You just had a fucking advert,
or Ren was alone down there. Then the living room bulb started flickering. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Callie covered her mouth and started sobbing since it was her first time seeing it. Seeing both my daughters hurting made me stand up ready to march to Reeves' house and bring my daughter home. But Callie grabbed my arms and pleaded, "Dad, you can't. If you go over there now, you'll go to jail and not him." She was right, so I took deep breaths to calm myself and then sat back down. The next morning, the cops, a detective, Callie and me were all at Reeves' front door, and when the detective knocked, Reeve opened the door looking confused. The detective held up the warrant. "Mr. Reeve, we have a warrant to search your home. Step aside, please." Reeve turned to me with a hurt look on his face. "Silas, you think Ren's here, but I've been helping you find her and praying for her." I cut him off, sick of his lies. "Save it. I know it was you in her doorway." He looked confused. "Silas? What doorway?" But he regained his composure and stepped aside. "Look anywhere you want, but she's not here." Callie coldly said, "We'll see about that, you creep." The cops spread out through the house, and we could hear doors opening and closing, and we'd hear cops shouting "clear" every few seconds. Dread filled my body at the possibility of Ren not being here. That's when Reeve put his hand on my shoulder. "Silas, you really think I'd do this? After everything?" I grabbed his hand and tightened my grip until he was in pain. "You really thought we wouldn't catch you? I wish I had killed you 2 years ago." He tried to free himself. "Silas, I care about Ren just as much as you." Callie screamed, "Shut up! Don't say her name!" Reeve flinched, and I finally let go. Then me and Callie followed the detective down to the basement, and I knew this was the only place left Ren could be in. Seeing the pink walls in person made me sick, but seeing an empty room made me sicker. The detective turned to me with her face softening. "Mr. Powell, she's not here." I shook my head fast. No, that's not possible. She's here. I know it." Callie cried. "She's supposed to be here." Reeve appeared in the basement, and he had tears in his eyes, and he suddenly looked like the kind neighbor who had been helping us, and I started to doubt myself. "Mr. Reeve, I'm so sorry. I really thought you were the man Ren. I'm so sorry." Mr. Reeve put his hand on my shoulder and squeezed gently. "Silas, it's okay, I'm not angry. You're just trying to bring your little girl home, and don't worry, I'll still help you look for her." My eyes filled with tears, and I went to hug him because he was still willing to help me after all this. But that's when we heard fast and frantic pounding somewhere behind the back wall, and I froze. Reeve looked scared now, and he talked faster. "That's the pipes. I've been meaning to call somebody about it." The detective put her hand on her holster. "Mr. Reeve, get on the ground now." But he bolted for the stairs while the detective yelled for someone upstairs to stop him. Callie gripped my shirt in fear, and my whole body locked up because we both thought he was going to make it out. But Reeve was tackled to the floor the second he got upstairs. He screamed, "No, wait! You got it all wrong!" The cop put his hands behind his back and cuffed him while Reeve thrashed, but me and Callie relaxed a bit. Then the pounding behind the back wall got louder, so the detective slammed her boot against the drywall. It caved in a little, so me and Callie started pulling at the edges while the detective kicked it one more time, and then the fake wall came down. My eyes widened, and Callie let out a cry because Ren was standing on the other side. Her hair was matted and tangled, and her fists were raw and bleeding, and her eyes were red from crying. I ran to her, and she collapsed in my arms, and my legs gave out right there. Callie dropped down and wrapped her arms around Ren and pressed her face into her hair, sobbing,
Is it meant
"You're
to
here,
be?"
you're here." Ren grabbed 2 fistfuls of my shirt, and she was shaking so hard her teeth were chattering. I whispered, "Let's get you out of here." I carried Ren up the stairs while Callie followed behind me. When we got upstairs, Reeve was being walked to the front door, and he looked angry now. The wounded friend act was gone. When he saw me holding my daughter, he smiled creepily. Her scream that night was the prettiest sound I ever heard. I almost put Ren down to go beat him up, but I held on to her tighter because she was finally back in my arms, and nothing was worth letting go. So Callie stepped in front of me. "I hope you rot in jail, you creep." Reeve scoffed, and the cops shoved him out the front door. Then I took Ren to the hospital where the nurses cleaned the dried blood off her hands and wrapped fresh bandages on her knuckles. I wondered what she went through in Reeves' house, but shook the thoughts away because they scared me more than anything. After the nurses left, Ren grabbed a notepad and pen off the bedside table and wrote slowly and turned it around for us to see. Did you see me flashing? My eyes filled with tears and my voice cracked when I told her, yes, baby, I was flashing too. She started crying for the first time since we'd pulled her out of that wall, so Callie and me climbed onto the bed and hugged her. I held them both as tight as I could and thanked the heavens I'd looked at that bulb one more time.
Now let's look at some of his shorts.
My sister gave our six
Wait, actually, now look at this one.
was walking to meet my friend when suddenly I stepped on a loose manhole cover and fell straight down into the sewer. I screamed and landed hard in freezing water. When I looked up, the manhole I'd fallen through was way too high to reach. I yelled, "Help! Somebody!" But no one saw me fall in. Then I heard a deep rushing sound getting louder. Before I could move, a wall of water slammed into me and swept me down the tunnel. As I was being dragged, I wondered how the hell was I going to get out of here. The current dragged me through the dark, slamming me into the walls. I went under and swallowed the nasty poopy water, kicking as hard as I could just to get my head up because I couldn't swim. I tried to reach for my phone to call for help, but it was gone. The water had ripped it right out of my pocket, and I had no way to The mall Santa pulled my... Dad, I'm 10 years old. You don't have to tuck me in anymore. I thought you still liked me doing it like when you were little and I'd read you Batman comics. He smiled. Yeah, I used to love those stories, but I already know all of them. Are you excited to go on your school field trip tomorrow? Yeah, I actually am. You're going to the Empire State Building, right? I held up his school pamphlet showing the Empire State Building. Yeah, they're taking us on a tour and we're supposed to listen to Senator Greenway give a speech. I flipped the page and saw Senator Greenway's big smile. That should be fun. It's not going to be as cool as this weekend though. We shared a smile. Yeah, buddy, it'll be your first time seeing Niagara Falls. I can't wait. Can we go on the ferry that goes underneath it and get sprayed by all the mist? Absolutely. I kissed him on the forehead. I love you, son. Sweet dreams. Love you too, Dad. The next morning, I was making myself breakfast when I saw that I had 5 missed calls from Eddie, my old partner from the CIA. I grew nervous. I haven't spoken to him since I quit 5 years ago. He would only call me if something was really wrong. I called him back immediately. Eddie, what's up, man? You okay? His voice was strained. Meet me at our spot, ASAP, code red. He hung up, and I knew when Eddie gave me an order, I better follow it. We met at our normal spot in Central Park and started walking. I'm sorry to have to tell you this, man, but tell me your son didn't go to school today. He did. Why? What's wrong? A stranger walked by, and Eddie quickly lowered his gaze. Ah, man. Well, I'm still working black ops for our old handler, and I've been investigating this terrorist cell out of Russia that's been embedded in New York for the last 3 years. They've been planning a highly coordinated chemical attack, and I'm afraid to tell you that it might involve your son's school. My gut churned with terror. What? How?
Oh my
They're targeting
God.
well-known buildings in Manhattan, and I came across a list of elementary schools that are all going on field trips to visit different landmarks today, and that's when I saw your son's school on the list. My heart literally stopped. Oh crap. Do you know if he's already left for the field trip? Yeah, they were supposed to leave first thing in the morning. What's the CIA doing about this? That's the problem. We have a leak, and we have to keep this on the down low. I'm also terrified that the Russians know about me. His eyes were darting around in a panic at every stranger we passed by. How can I help, Eddie? I need you to help me figure out the who's involved and the actual root of this one. Of course, just tell me what to do. We turned a corner. Of course, just tell me what to do. We turned a corner, and then it was like a lightning bolt went off and struck Eddie in the head. Eddie, no! A sniper caught him from somewhere I couldn't see. Then I heard another shot go off and bounce off of the building wall beside me. My heart started racing, and my adrenaline massively spiked. I ducked down and took off
Dang.
running. I felt awful being forced to leave Eddie behind, but I
Dang, bro, that's sad. Bro's friend just got shot straight in the head.
didn't have a choice. I had no idea where they were shooting from, so I hid behind a dumpster and waited, trying to calm my breathing down. Then I slowly made my way down another street and back to where they shot Eddie. I arrived back at the spot and was horrified when I saw that he was completely gone.
Where's Eddie? Bro's gone.
Moved off of the street as if it never even happened. I looked at all of the people passing by, and they all acted so natural and calm as if nothing had happened. I anxiously grabbed
Hey,
the
that's that
first
guy from the
stranger.
other video, right there. Let me draw him. Right there. Isn't that him right there? That guy. Right there. Yeah, that's him. Let's just get on with it.
stranger's arm. Did you see what happened to my friend? Get your hands off of me, weirdo. I got in another stranger's face. How
It's
about
her, she's the
you?
one.
Step aside or I'll cut you. I searched the ground for any traces of blood or anything and found nothing. This group of assassins was elite and seriously knew how to cover their tracks. I now realized that it was up to me to stop this attack and make sure my son was safe. I immediately drove to the Empire State Building and spoke to their head of security. You've got to listen to me. This isn't a joke. There is going to be an attack. He laughed in my face. Okay, pal, get back on your meds. I was horrified at how little he seemed to care. I started searching through a massive sea of students of all ages and stopped when I couldn't find my son's group. I would need to stop the attack in some other way. I glared at the head of security. I'll be back to stop this shit, and when I do, it'll be on you for not taking this more seriously. Go back to Bellevue, you jerk. I quickly picked up some basic supplies and drove over to a park in Bethesda. Eddie and I had a fallback dead drop spot there ever since 2002. Whatever Eddie had been working on for the last 12 months would be here. My hands shook as I took out a loose brick in a retaining wall.
It's 2026 now, bro. Bro posted this like 2 days ago. Since 2002, and bro said he was 10. So then Mr. Buddy Boy was born I don't know what the year is. It's probably like 2000.
Behind the maintenance shed and found a sealed manila envelope inside. The envelope had no dust on it, meaning that he'd recently made a drop. I kept checking my watch and thinking, there's not going to be enough time, and I need to figure this out quickly. I got back in my car, opened up the envelope, and took out a USB flash drive, a single Polaroid, and an index card with one word that read, Sokolov. Where do I know that name? I plugged the USB drive into my laptop and saw 340 files pop up on the screen. The titles read, Surveillance Photos, financial records, immigration manifests, intercepted SMS logs. I shook my head in disbelief. There was nowhere near enough time to read everything here. Eddie had been working on this case alone for years. I read more. Viktor Sokolov, Russian-born, naturalized American, who acts
Dang. Anyways, let's go back
like
to
a
it.
real estate mogul, but is actually a human trafficker. Then my heart sank when I saw a picture of Sokolov shaking hands with Senator Howard Greenway. Holy crap, this corruption goes all the way up the chain of command. Eddie had written down an address for Sokolov. He was my first target. I thought of my son and panicked, then sped down the freeway in a panic, made it up to New York, and parked out front of Sokolov's building. I waited for a few seconds. Then I saw Sokolov walk out and get into a black SUV. This might be my only chance. Ding, a text from my ex-wife. Call me, we're worried about you. That was always my ex-wife's way of wanting something from me. Can't engage in your bullshit right now. I'm trying to save our son. I had a horrific, nightmarish fantasy of seeing my son choking on some chemical gas. I shook my head. Snap out of it. You don't have time. I ignored her text and followed Sokolov to a warehouse in Long Island.
Now let's react to
My sister gave our 6-year-old brother a Chinese candy bar, and he instantly started dying. Reagan had spent the last 2 years studying Mandarin in Beijing. She sent us pictures with her Chinese host parents, and had our dad send her $500 every month for spendings. But when our brother Max pulled a granola bar from her bag and asked, Reagan, what does this mean? She stared at the Chinese symbols with a confused look like she didn't know a single word. My hands instantly trembled, because Reagan was a compulsive liar from the day she was born. I watched her stutter, chocolate and oats and honey, and watched Max ask if there were any peanuts. Reagan shook her head. Nope, no peanuts anywhere. But when Max tore it open and took a bite, he instantly started wheezing. His lips swelled and his face turned red as he dropped to the floor. Reagan started freaking out, and when Dad came running and saw the unwrapped candy bar, Reagan instantly threw her hands in the air. I told Max the Chinese candy had peanuts, but he didn't listen. I gripped my head in horror and screamed back, No, Reagan, you read the Chinese writing and told Max it was safe. You've spent 2 years in China. How could you not read if it had peanuts? Reagan went red, but Dad was already on his knees calling the ambulance. At the hospital, Dad gripped Max's hand while I stood over Reagan in the corner. Why didn't you tell Max the candy had peanuts? That's when she broke down and started crying. I never went to Beijing. I spent the last 2 years in Bulgaria with my sugar daddy. I told Max there were no peanuts, so you'd think I learned Chinese and never know where I really was. I gripped my head as I realized she'd risked our brother's life to keep up her.
Oh wow, what a video. Let's level up for you today. Hope you enjoyed this video and see you all in the next one. Bye.